What if I told you that you have never once been alone? That every thought you've whispered in silence, every dream you've carried in the quiet chambers of your heart, has already reached the edges of the universe and whispered back. You see, you are not separate from the cosmos. You are woven into it. Every thought, every heartbeat, every flicker of desire is a signal, a vibration, sending ripples into a quantum ocean where all possibilities already exist. This is the mystery of quantum entanglement. Two particles, once connected, remain bound to one another. No matter the distance, no matter the separation. Change one, and the other responds instantly. It is as if the universe itself refuses to forget its connections. And here's the truth you've been waiting to remember. You are one of those particles. Your dream life is the other. It is not waiting to be created. It is already entangled with you, already alive in the quantum field of infinite possibility. Every time you think of it, feel it, imagine it, you are tugging on the invisible thread that binds you. And just as surely it tugs back. But here is the paradox. You do not see these threads because your senses are trained to perceive only the physical. You see the tree but not the roots. You see the light bulb but not the electricity. You see the moment but not the field beneath it that shapes all outcomes. Think of two people walking into the same room. One feels ignored, unseen, rejected. The other feels welcome, chosen, valued. The room is the same. The people are the same. What's different is the entanglement of their inner world with the outer one. One projects a frequency of rejection, and the universe echoes it back. The other radiates belonging, and the universe harmonizes in return. This is not punishment. This is resonance. Reality is not mocking you, it is mirroring you, and the mirror is precise. Every time you believe you are small, life bends to show you more evidence of limitation. Every time you choose to believe you are worthy, life bends to confirm it. The quantum field does not judge. It does not decide. It reflects. Here lies your power. When you shift your inner state, the threads begin to vibrate differently. And suddenly, the possibilities you could not see before begin to appear. Synchronicities unfold. Doors open. People you never expected to meet show up. Why? Because reality is simply responding to the signal you have always been broadcasting. The invisible threads have been there all along, and they have been waiting for you to notice. So pause here, breathe deeply. Imagine the life you long for, not as something distant, not as something separate, but as something already bound to you, already alive in another layer of reality. Feel that connection now. And understand this. Every choice you make, every emotion you embody, every thought you repeat, plucks the string of entanglement. And with each vibration you call your dream closer. This is where the story begins. Not in separation, not in striving, but in remembrance. You are already connected. You always have been. And the moment you begin to live as if that were true, the invisible threads will begin to reveal the doorway. What if the life you are chasing is already here? What if the very thing you ache for, the dream you call impossible, has already been chosen in the quantum field, long before you asked for it? This is not fantasy. This is physics. Quantum theory tells us that before something becomes real, it exists in a state of pure potential, what scientists call the superposition. Countless outcomes float in possibility, waiting for one thing: your conscious observation. The moment you look, the moment you choose, the wave collapses into form, and here's the part that changes everything. Your dream life is already one of those potentials. It is not outside of you. It is not waiting to be built brick by brick. It exists now, in the invisible field, entangled with the very frequency of your being. But here's the trap most people fall into. They believe desire means lack. They think wanting something proves it isn't here. And so they spend years chasing, pushing, grasping, trying to create from emptiness. Yet the truth is the opposite. Desire is not proof of absence. Desire is the whisper of recognition. It is your soul saying, I have already touched this timeline in the quantum field. That's why it feels familiar. Think about this. Two people apply for the same opportunity. One feels desperate. I need this or I'm nothing. The other feels calm, certain. This is already mine in one of the infinite outcomes. Who do you think resonates with the timeline where doors open? Who collapses the possibility into reality? The difference is not chance. The difference is state. When you live in lack, you signal the universe to mirror that lack. When you live as though it is already done, you signal the universe to bring it forward. This is why the greatest creators, the most magnetic beings, do not chase. They align. They trust. They act as if you do not pull your dream from thin air. You tune yourself to the frequency where it is already playing. Just like turning a dial on the radio, the music was always there. You simply couldn't hear it until you adjusted. This is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude is the state of already having. When you feel it, even before the evidence, you collapse the wave into that reality. Gratitude is the vibration that tells the universe, I already know it's mine. Thank you for showing me what is already true. Pause here. Imagine the life you long for, not as something out of reach, but as something breathing right next to you. Let go of the chase. Feel the recognition instead. The field has already said yes, and the moment you choose to live from that knowing, the dream stops being a distant hope and begins to reveal itself as the reality you are already entangled with. What if the reality you keep waking up in is not happening to you but through you? What if life is not a wall you keep crashing into, but a mirror reflecting back the patterns hidden beneath your awareness? Here's the truth, your subconscious mind is not passive. It is not a silent background program. It is the projector that casts the movie of your life onto the screen of reality. Every unresolved memory, every unhealed emotion, every belief you inherited without questioning, it all becomes the lens through which you collapse possibility into form. And until you awaken, you will keep watching the same film play out in different costumes with different characters, but the same familiar ending. Science confirms this. Research shows that up to 95% of your daily thoughts, choices, and behaviors are driven by subconscious patterns, which means most of the time you are not truly choosing, you are repeating. Think of this. Two people experience the same event. One is rejected in love and spends years believing they are unworthy. Another is rejected in love and decides it was life redirecting them towards someone better. The event is identical. The story written in the subconscious is not, and those two stories create two entirely different realities. Your subconscious does not care if a story is empowering or destructive. It simply accepts repetition as truth. If you replay the thought, I'm not enough times, it becomes law in your inner world. And because reality is a mirror, life bends itself to reflect that law. Relationships mirror it, finances mirror it, health mirrors it. This is why you can study manifestation for years, recite affirmations, visualize the dream, and still end up stuck. Because the conscious mind may declare, I deserve abundance, while the subconscious quietly whispers, I am not worthy. And the mirror responds to the deeper voice. But here lies your liberation. Just as the subconscious can be programmed into limitation, it can also be reprogrammed into freedom. Neural plasticity, the brain's ability to rewire, proves that with new patterns, new emotions, new repetition, the subconscious can learn to project an entirely new film. This is why meditation, hypnosis, sleep programming, and deep emotional healing are so powerful. They bypass the noisy surface mind and plant seeds directly into the fertile soil of the subconscious. When those seeds take root, reality has no choice but to reflect them. Imagine standing before a mirror. You frown and the reflection frowns back. You smile and the reflection smiles. Reality works the same way. It is not punishing you, it is reflecting you. And when you shift the expression within, the world cannot help but follow. Pause here. Ask yourself, what story has my subconscious been projecting without my awareness? Whose voice have I been carrying that does not belong to me? And what story would I choose if I knew reality would mirror it without fail? Because that is the invitation, to no longer be a prisoner of an old script, to become the conscious author of a new one. Your subconscious is the mirror, and the moment you change what it reflects, you will find yourself living in an entirely different reality without ever leaving the room. What if your emotions are not accidents, but instructions? What if every feeling you carry, every surge of joy, every wave of fear, every whisper of doubt, sends a signal into the quantum field, telling the universe which doorway to open? Here's the truth: emotion is not weakness. Emotion is frequency. It is the language the field understands. When you feel gratitude, you are broadcasting the frequency of already having. When you embody love, you are vibrating in harmony with connection and expansion. When you surrender in trust, you are resonating with possibility itself. These emotions magnetize you to the timelines where your dream already exists. But when you live in fear, you collapse into a frequency of contraction. When you hold on to doubt, you tune yourself to timelines of delay. When resentment plays on repeat, you anchor yourself in the very past you are trying to escape. Think about two people walking into the same situation. Both face uncertainty. One feels fear and imagines failure, and so every step is heavy, hesitant, closed. The other feels curiosity and excitement, imagining opportunity, and so every step is open, magnetic, alive. The external world is identical. The frequency they emit determines which timeline unfolds. This is why so many spiritual teachers, from Joe Dispenza to ancient mystics, remind us that elevated emotion is the fuel of creation. Thoughts alone are not enough. A thought without emotion is like a signal without power. It doesn't travel far, but a thought charged with feeling, that becomes a vibration the universe cannot ignore. The double-slit experiment revealed something extraordinary. Particles behave differently when observed. But it is not just the act of looking, it is the state of the observer that matters. Your consciousness, infused with feeling, collapses possibility into form. In other words, reality bends not just to what you think, but to what you feel while thinking it. So pause here. Notice the emotions you have been rehearsing daily. Are you unconsciously practicing worry, anger, shame? If so, you're tuning yourself to those outcomes. Not because the universe punishes you, but because it mirrors you. And here is your shift. You can choose. You can begin rehearsing gratitude before the evidence appears. You can embody love before the person arrives. You can practice trust before the door opens. And when you do, you will find reality adjusting itself to the frequency you've chosen, like tuning into a new station on the radio. Emotion is not something to suppress. Emotion is your compass, your guide, your greatest technology of creation. Because every time you feel, you are sending instructions to the universe. And when those instructions are gratitude, love, and trust, the doorway to your dream life cannot stay closed for long. What if the world you see exists only because you are looking at it that way? What if reality is not fixed but fluid? Not permanent but pliable, shaped by the lens through which you observe it? This is not philosophy. This is physics. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists discovered something extraordinary. Particles of light behaved like waves, spreading into infinite possibilities until someone observed them. The moment they were watched, they collapsed into a single form. Observation changed reality, and here is where it becomes undeniable. You are the observer. Every time you look at your life, you are collapsing the wave. You are choosing which possibility becomes matter. But here's the part most people miss. It is not just that you observe, but how you observe. When you look through the eyes of lack, you collapse into more lack. When you look through the eyes of fear, you collapse into more fear. But when you look through the eyes of abundance, of love, of healing, you collapse into a reality that reflects exactly that. Think of two people losing the same job. One looks at it and says, "This is proof I'm worthless. Nothing ever works out for me." And so their world collapses into scarcity and despair. The other looks at the same event and says, "This is the universe redirecting me. Something greater is waiting." And their world collapses into opportunity and growth. The event is the same. The observer's choice makes the difference. Reality is not happening to you. Reality is responding to you. Here's the paradox. You've been observing unconsciously for most of your life, seeing through the filters of old wounds, old beliefs, old stories you didn't even choose. And every time you looked through those lenses, the wave collapsed into the same reality again and again. Not because the universe is cruel, not because you are cursed, but because the field reflects the observer's state. But today, you are being invited to choose differently, to become aware of the lens you're using, to take back the role you've always had, but forgotten, the role of creator. This does not mean ignoring pain. It does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means deciding what meaning you give to what happens. It means choosing where to place your attention, knowing that attention is the most powerful currency in the universe. When you choose to see abundance, you activate it. When you choose to see healing, your body responds. When you choose to see love, you invite it to reveal itself. Science and spirituality meet here. Joe Dispenza reminds us, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Bob Proctor taught that what you hold in mind will eventually show up in your life. And ancient wisdom echoes the same truth, as within, so without. Pause here. Notice, how have you been observing your life? Through what lens have you been collapsing possibility into form? And more importantly, what lens will you choose now? Because the choice is always yours. You can collapse into the timeline of fear, or you can collapse into the timeline of love. You can collapse into the story of limitation, or you can collapse into the story of freedom. The double-slit experiment revealed a truth the world is still catching up to. Consciousness shapes matter, and your consciousness is shaping your life right now, so choose. Choose with intention, choose with courage, choose with love, because the moment you decide to see differently, the wave will collapse into a new path, and the reality you've been waiting for will begin waiting for you no more. What if the weight you feel is not the present holding you down, but the past refusing to let go? What if the reason you keep meeting the same struggles, the same heartbreaks, the same cycles, is not fate, but memory, gravity pulling you back into the orbit of who you used to be? Here's the truth. Most people are not living new lives. They are reliving old ones. Every memory carries an emotion, and every emotion vibrates as a frequency. When you repeatedly feel the same emotion, whether it's guilt, shame, resentment, or fear, you keep tuning yourself to the same timeline. The past becomes a magnet, pulling today into yesterday's patterns. Neuroscience confirms this. Every time you recall an old memory, your brain fires the same neural pathways, wiring the past deeper into your present identity. And because your body responds to the mind, you re-experience the same chemical cocktail as if the event were happening now. This is why people who were abandoned once often feel abandoned again and again. Why those who failed once often replay failure in endless variations. It's not punishment, it's programming. Think about two people ending a relationship. One keeps replaying the betrayal, the pain, the words spoken in anger. Each memory recharges the wound, and so they attract partners who echo that pain. Another chooses to release, to forgive, to see it as a redirection. Their body heals, their energy shifts, and they attract a completely different kind of love. The past is not what chains you. Your attachment to it does. But here's the paradox. You can step out of that orbit at any moment. Because the past only exists when you bring it alive in your mind. The moment you stop feeding it with your focus, the gravitational pull weakens. And suddenly, you are free to step into the unknown, the only space where your dream life breathes. Joe Dispenza reminds us, the best way to predict your future is to create it, not from the memories of the past, but from the vision of the future. The quantum field responds not to who you were, but to who you are being now. So pause here. Ask yourself, which memories am I rehearsing more often than the future I long for? Which old emotions am I allowing to dictate my present choices? Because the doorway to your dream life will not open if you are still knocking on the door of yesterday. The shift comes when you cut the invisible strings. When you forgive, not to excuse what happened, but to free yourself from carrying it. When you decide that your past is not your destiny. When you let yourself feel something new, imagine something greater, choose something different. The past is gravity, but you're not an object bound to orbit. You are consciousness, free to collapse into new possibility. And the moment you loosen the grip of memory, the future you've been longing for will stop circling and finally land. What if the universe has always been speaking to you, but you were too busy doubting to listen? What if the coincidences you brushed off were not random, but messages, patterns, signals, a language written in alignment? Here's the truth. When you align your frequency with the life you long for, the quantum field begins to respond. It does not send you a text message. It does not knock on your door. Instead, it sends synchronicities, those mysterious alignments where reality bends to mirror your inner shift. You think of someone, and they suddenly call. You dream of a new opportunity, and it shows up in an unexpected conversation. You decide to heal, and the right book, the right teacher, the right moment appears as if delivered. Carl Jung called synchronicity meaningful coincidence. Quantum physics calls it entanglement. Two particles once connected can affect each other across infinite space. So why would it be strange that your inner state, the particle of your consciousness, affects the outer events that appear around you? Synchronicity is not luck. It is evidence. Evidence that your energy is being registered by the field of infinite potential. Evidence that you are no longer forcing your life, but flowing with it. Think about two people walking the same street. One is consumed by fear, scrolling their phone, trapped in the old story of lack. They miss the opportunities passing by. The other is open, aware, tuned to possibility. They notice the flyer on the wall that leads to their new career. They smile at the stranger who becomes their future partner. Same street, different frequency, different future. This is the synchronistic pathway. Not a straight line, but a series of breadcrumbs. Each sign, each alignment, each nudge is the field whispering, "Keep going, you are on the right track." Joe Dispenza often says, "The unknown is where the magic happens." And it is true. Synchronicity is the universe's way of rewarding those who step into the unknown, who break free from the gravitational pull of the past. Because once you leave the old orbit, reality must send you guidance into the new. The key is recognition, to pause when life feels uncanny, to notice when timing feels too precise to be chance, to trust that what shows up carries meaning, even if your logical mind cannot yet decode it. The shift comes when you stop asking, "Is this real?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me? Where is this guiding me?" Because every synchronicity is a mirror reflecting your alignment, a breadcrumb pointing you home, a reminder that you are not alone, that your life is not random, that your dream is not a fantasy, it is entangled with you, waiting for you to follow the signs. The synchronistic pathway is not built with force, it is walked with trust. And the more you trust it, the louder the whispers become, until they are no longer whispers, but undeniable confirmations that you are exactly where you are meant to be. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. This is the paradox most people never realize. You cannot reach your dream life by chasing it, because the very act of chasing confirms its distance. You reach it by becoming the version of you who already lives it. Here's the truth. Identity is the deepest form of entanglement. Your future self already exists in the quantum field, vibrating on a frequency unique to that reality. And when you step into that identity, when you think, feel, and act as though you are already that version, you collapse the wave of possibility into form. The double-slit experiment showed us that observation changes reality. But here is the hidden layer. The observer's identity determines what reality they collapse. If you continue to identify as the one who is broken, struggling, unworthy, then the universe reflects that identity back to you. If you begin to identify as the one who is whole, abundant, and aligned, reality has no choice but to adjust. Think of two people starting a new career. One identifies as someone just trying to get by. They hesitate, self-sabotage, shrink when opportunities appear. The other identifies as a creator, an innovator, a leader in the making. They speak differently, move differently, open doors that seem to open for no one else. Same field, same circumstances, different identities, different realities. Joe Dispenza often says, to change your personal reality, you must change your personality. Your personality, your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors is the electromagnetic signal you broadcast. That signal is what entangles with opportunities, relationships, and synchronicities in the quantum field. If you want to entangle with a new reality, you must first broadcast a new identity. This is why affirmations alone are not enough. Saying, "I am abundant," while feeling lack will not shift your frequency. The subconscious hears the truth beneath the words. The shift happens when your emotions and actions harmonize with your declaration. When you wake up in the morning and move as though abundance is already yours. When you make choices not from fear, but from the trust of one who knows they are supported. Identity shifting is not pretending. It is remembering. It is collapsing the distance between who you believe you are and who you actually are beyond the layers of fear, trauma, and conditioning. Ask yourself, how does my future self speak? How does my future self love? How does my future self respond to challenges? Then become that. Not tomorrow, not when the evidence shows up, but now, because here is the secret. Reality waits for you to lead. The moment you embody the habits, emotions, and choices of your entangled future self, you create a field of inevitability around you. You no longer chase your dream, you magnetize it. You no longer wait for proof, you become the proof, and slowly the veil dissolves. The life you once prayed for stops being a vision in the distance and begins breathing through you. The relationships shift. The opportunities appear. The synchronicities align. Not because you forced the external world, but because you shifted the internal one. You are not creating your dream life out of nothing. You are tuning to the version of you who has always existed, waiting in the quantum field. And the more fully you embody them, the more undeniable the entanglement becomes. The shift is this. You stop asking, when will my dream arrive? And you start declaring, I have already arrived. I'm already home. The doorway was never locked. The threshold was never guarded. The gate you feared was never outside of you. It has always been inside. You are standing at the edge of infinite possibilities, a vast field of potential shimmering like stars, waiting for you to choose which light to step into. And yet, the great paradox is this. You are not waiting to enter your dream life. You have already crossed the threshold the moment you aligned with it. The double-slit experiment revealed something astonishing. Until observed, particles remain in a state of pure potential. Infinite options, infinite trajectories, infinite realities. But the instant an observer appears, one pathway collapses into form. Consciousness is the key. Attention is the lockpick. Identity is the hand that turns the handle. Here's the truth. You have been opening doorways all your life. Every thought you rehearsed, every emotion you allowed to repeat, every story you clung to, it became a door you walked through. Some led to joy, others led to heartbreak, but every one of them confirmed the same eternal law. Reality is not random, it is responsive. Two people can face the same closed door and see two different realities. One sees rejection, failure, the end of hope. The other sees redirection, guidance, a new path emerging. The difference is not in the door. The difference is in the identity of the one who stands before it. This is the final entanglement. You are not separate from the door you seek to open. You are both the doorway and the traveler. You are both the question and the answer. You are both the dreamer and the dream. Think of the moments in your life when synchronicities appeared, the right person, the unexpected opportunity, the inner nudge that guided you at the exact time you needed it. Those were not accidents. They were doorways. The universe whispering, you are ready. Walk through. But here's what you must remember. The doorway does not respond to hesitation, doubt, or waiting for proof. It responds to faith in motion, to the courage of becoming before seeing, to the choice to live as if the dream has already been chosen, because in truth, it has. Bob Proctor often said, if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Not because imagination is fantasy, but because imagination is the preview of the reality already existing in the quantum field. Every time you feel the emotion of that reality, you're placing your hand on the handle. Every time you embody the identity of your future self, you are turning it. And when you finally step forward in trust, you realize the door was never closed. The shift is this. Stop waiting for your dream life to invite you in. Live as though you have already walked through the doorway. Speak, breathe, and move as the one who belongs on the other side, because you do. And so the final image is this. You, standing at the threshold of infinite possibilities, not peering in, not hesitating, but stepping fully across. The doorway opens, not because the universe finally allowed it, but because you finally realized you were the doorway all along.